Hello everyone, my name is Shwang Joshi and I'm co-founder of Law Community. And today I welcome you all on Lawyer Speaks. And in this session, we have invited a very special guest, Ms. Mugdha Sharma. She is an in-house counsel at Ambuja Cements and has been practicing since past half a decade. We welcome ma'am on our show to know more about her journey through this interaction. So, ma'am, my first question is, who has been your role model? Who was your inspiration when you started doing law?
Um, so when I started doing law, frankly, in my house or nearby, any relative or any close by friends, there were no lawyers, frankly. So I was not really someone who was inspired by someone at that time. It was like a challenge for me because nobody in my near and dear ones was doing law or was a lawyer for that matter. So I just thought that I will do something. This is new. This is exciting, and I jumped into it. But once I started doing law, when I went to law school, and after a year or so, it started sinking in, and I started liking it. And as for inspiration, frankly, I have been inspired by so many people all across the fraternity. Frankly, I can't really name one that way, but there are many of my own alumni who are partners at law firms right now or RGCs of bigger organizations, and I'm just really glad to be part of this fraternity. So yeah, the entire fraternity inspires me.
Okay. So, ma'am, how did you plan your time during your law school period?
Okay. When you enter the law school, you're new, fresh from school. So this planning and all comes a little later, frankly. The first year is just jumbled up. So many new things are happening. There are co-curricular activities. There are obviously your academics. There are projects and exams coming up, midterm, interim. So it's just a lot of juggling, I think. Uh, but I think slowly in 6 months' time or in a year's time, you get a hang of it and then you start planning. How I did, I used to have my, for lack of a good word, false deadlines set, right? Because so in law school, in National Law School, Bangalore, where I studied, we used to have trimester system. And in a trimester, there'll be midterm and then end term. So essentially, every 15 days, we'll have projects and then exams, right? 3 months trimester. So it used to be even difficult to, juggle everything. But I used to keep false deadlines for myself. So if there is a project submission on 15th, I'll probably, think that it's 12th and accordingly manage my timetable and my work accordingly. And yeah, that's how I did. And I think it's something that is to each to their own. And, because I think people have different ways of juggling all these new things and new assignments that they keep getting in first year and second year. And slowly you make your own way of managing your time, etc. So I did it this way. I would highly recommend people who are, into moot court and into debate, and then there is academics, and then there is this thing. Kudos to them that they're doing so well, and I would highly recommend them also planning their time accordingly because at the end of the day, you have to obviously, you know, get decent grades and learn from the academics as well, and of course get your exposure that you're looking for. So it is very important, but it is something very personal and individualistic, I think, and everybody learns it on the go.
So, ma'am, how should students go about in building their resumes? What should keep in mind while doing so?
Resume writing, I think it's different for different categories of students. So when you're in a first year or a second year of law school, I'm talking about a 5-year course right now, then you would like to emphasize more on what you probably would have done during the school level, right? So I was already working with certain NGOs at the school level. So my first internship was at UNICEF with in collaboration with another organization. the CRO, Child Rights Observatory. And so since I had child rights in use experience from school time, I could put that to use to build my resume while applying to UNICEF, right? So I think it completely depends on at which stage of law school you're at, what kind of internships you're aiming at, and then first you have to decide. So let me just describe a little more on how you should decide what to put depending on what you're applying for. So if it's an NGO or a research-based or a policy-based, organization or an application, I think you should focus more on what research work you've had till then, and how your interest has been building over the years for that particular cause, right? Because that's very important for someone like a UNICEF or a smaller organization also, NGOs particularly. They obviously want to see how the person relates themselves to the cause, right? So your CV should show that you have been working on something or you've been involved in this subject for a while, and that also shows your enthusiasm and your determination towards that cause. And for a UNICEF or likes to actually take you for that role, it'll become easier for them, right? So I think that's one thing that you have to keep in mind to show that you're inclined towards that topic, that cause. Coming to a more litigation-based internship, frankly, I haven't done too many. There were certain compulsory internships that we had to do, and there you choose a lawyer or the kind of lawyer you want to work under, and then you go for it. Frankly, before that, I didn't have anything in litigation, so I didn't have to modify so much. I had my prior internship experiences, and I showed that, and I showed my interest. And also, when it becomes compulsory, even the lawyers understand, right? Then I think it will be completely your skill as to how you explain to that particular senior advocate or the lawyer that you're working or you're going to work under, that how determined you are to actually give those many hours, because litigation internships are extensive, right? So you have to put in those many hours, you have to put in that much labor. So you have to show that to the senior advocate how important this is for you, and how badly you want it. That is one thing for litigation internships. The third would be a law firm or similar kind of internships, right? It could be an in-house or a law firm experience. I think most of the law schools will have their recruitment committees. So usually people get picked, and if you do not, then you have to write to them. I think a lot of law firms prefer, law firms or even in-house, I know I'm in one now, it's preferred that people have applications given in for a longer period, right? Because if I have to take an intern today in my organization, I would prefer someone who comes and stays for a while, and not a 15-day or a 1-month internship. Probably we'll prefer someone for 3 months or a 6 months, right? So if we see a profile which is not really something that has a prior experience but is willing to intern for 6 months, I would pick that probably sometime over someone who has experience. Because when it comes to grooming someone or mentoring someone and explaining them how the work works, and taking their help, it becomes there's a bond that's created, right? So for us to take that person forward for 6 months, and probably that person can be given a PPO, etc., it becomes easier for the employer to see through that candidate. And during the internship, during those 3 months or 6 months, the longer internship is always preferred. So maybe in the resume you need to show if there are longer internships that you've had. You'd like to show that. You'd like to also streamline your resume in terms of subjects. Like for instance, I'm a corporate lawyer. Prior to this, I was an M&A lawyer in a law firm, right? So my resume would look like something. There are certain M&A experiences, so I'll jumble them together. Then there are general corporate experiences, I'll jumble them together. Like I'll stack them together. It just makes your resume look more streamlined, and for a reader, for an employer to see through your resume, it just clicks. Because see, when you're applying for an internship or for any job for that matter, it's very imperative that everything that you um, are good at, right, that you have done for so many number of years, or so many number of months that you've been doing, you would like to highlight it, because your resume is the first interaction with the employer, right? Because employer has not really spoken to you, or you've not come into a direct contact with the employer to explain your stand. So it's very important to put everything that you know of, or or you're excellent in, or your interest lies there. All of these exciting things should be the highlight of your resume. First of all, your resume should not, frankly, I understand you've had good experiences and you'd like to highlight everything, but then you also have to be, um, use your discretion, put things that are more relevant to the internship that you're applying, particularly, and generally what your strengths are. Maybe you'd like to highlight that too. Keep your resume short, crisp. A lot of people tend to write a lot of detailed paragraphs, what they did. That is something which is completely not required, because in an interview, people will ask you, right? Even if it's an interview for an internship or for a job interview, an employer, if they want to ask you, if they're looking at something, a heading is there and they're excited about it, they're going to ask you, right? And then you'll have time to explain in detail. But having to put those details, verbose paragraphs in your CV, in your resume, it just doesn't make more sense, and it also takes up your space. You rather cut that much, cut it short for that much space, and utilize it otherwise. So I think that is the second most important thing. Keep it crisp, keep it brief, keep it exciting, keep it more bullet points, right? More things that you want to highlight it. And one thing more, know your employer, frankly. That's actually one of the foremost things you should do. Um, I remember when we used to apply for internships in law school, there'll be certain employers who'd want there are MNCs, right? The big fours. They would want their resumes or applicants applying for their internship or for jobs. They would want it in a specific format, right? You can get those formats online, or your seniors could help you all. But then there are companies who have impressed upon the requirement of certain type of format, right? Maybe they use, there are a lot of internship MNCs that use certain softwares, by the way, to churn CVs. So that's very important, that you know your employer better and you know what kind of expectation they have in terms of your application, right? It's not a set format for everybody. It's not fit for all format. You have to customize your CV always when you're applying for an internship or a job. And yeah, these are the three foremost things that I would advise you. Keep it short, know your employer, and put everything that is exciting about you.
So, ma'am, have you ever come across a situation in your life where you have felt discriminated because of your gender? And if yes, then how did you dealt with it? And is it still prevalent in today's time?
Discrimination that I may have experienced and how I did deal with it. Frankly, I have been touch wood, but very lucky with all my bosses and all my colleagues. They're very smart and open-minded people that I've had till now, and I'm blessed to have such colleagues around me. But just because I've been privileged enough to have good colleagues and good bosses, I wouldn't just not see the issue. Frankly, I know that issue is prevalent, but I also hear a lot of new steps that employers take these days to curb these issues or to minimize such unhealthy issues happening in their organization through various steps. Like, there are a lot of awareness programs that are going on in companies and in law firms and everywhere. Actually, all the organizations do it. There are a lot of policies being implemented. ICs have become stricter and more compassionate towards such issues, and they deal with the issues very strictly and very seriously. So the issue is prevalent for sure. I find this is not the right forum to comment too much on it, but I haven't faced it, so I don't have a first-hand experience of how I dealt with it or how what I feel about it. But yeah, I have only this much to say on it.
Okay. So, ma'am, why did you choose to work as an in-house counsel over a law firm? What are pros and cons for the both? For both?
Um, so my first job was with a boutique law firm, which was started by my alumna. Right after law school, I took this opportunity, which initially sounded like something that I should be thinking maybe again because it's a new law firm. It's only starting recently. It's only started recently, and but I think what I went for that time is the amount of exposure that I'll get, directly working under a partner who has had immense experience of law firm work for over the years, right? She was at a partner level at a law firm already, and then she started her own firm. So I am really thankful that I made that decision because a lot of exposure that I got in my initial months, starting my career, that built a lot of momentum for my journey as a lawyer after law school. I remember, we used to do everything from, say, meeting a client, potential client, converting them into actually a client, and working with them for throughout the transaction and post the deal, having post deal discussions. So there is a lot of exposure that I got at a very young age in my career. So I'm really thankful that I took that path. Having said that, law firm requires certain amount of your time, your efforts, right? Which is relatively more than what you would otherwise given an in-house setup, right? Um, Maybe it's to do with the demanding work that comes in a law firm because you are not just working for one client, right? You're working for multiple clients. So maybe one client's deadline is still relaxed, but then there are multiple clients to cater to. So, there could be varied deadlines and you have to match them which is why you have to work for those many hours. So I think for the sheer requirement of having a work-life balance in my life, and for having that much time to give to myself, I chose to switch, to an in-house role after being at a law firm for almost 2 years. Also, I actually got a flavor of it because when I was in the law firm, I was seconded at an in-house where I am working right now. So for me, it was like I got a trailer, right? I got a trailer how it's going to be. And since I was working in a law firm, I saw the difference that is there in terms of work-life balance and in terms of how you can manage your personal and professional life together. And frankly, I liked it. I liked working at an in-house setting. Um, that is one reason why I chose to, become an in-house lawyer. Second, more important reason for me would be, when you're a law firm associate or senior associate, at least the senior associate level, you're working only on the legalities, most of it, right? You're working on the legalities more for the majority of your work. But being an in-house lawyer, you get involved in the business side of things as well, right? Because you have to cater to the business ultimately. Of course, within the ambit of law, you have to make customer or you have to customize solutions for your business, right? The business, a marketing team, for example, would come to us asking for launching of this product, certain products in the market soon. They want to understand the legality of the structure, how they're going to launch it, and the whole supply chain issues, or for that matter, or say sales issues, or marketing issues, branding issues. There are so many issues involved in uh, a new project that is going to be launched. So it's very exciting to deal with not just the law, but also the business side of things, right? To cater to business as well as law at the same time. That felt really exciting, and it felt like that I could be involved in the commercial side of things as well. And that made me decide. That was my final, that final click where I decided that I would rather be an in-house lawyer now. So I switched, and since then I've been an in-house lawyer.
So, ma'am, if you have to describe your journey as a lawyer, what would that one word be?
I think it's been a crazy roller coaster because, like I said, I jumped into something which was new, and I was completely unaware because I had interned at Big Laws and bigger MNCs, etc. while at law school. I hadn't really worked with someone who had a younger setup, or where the setup is younger and smaller. There's a lot of new nuances that you have to work on. It's not just say a venture capital transaction is going on, but there are other things that because the clients are also young, and the clients also don't know anything. So sometimes you have to explain the entire transaction to them, right? Probably you end up explaining their transaction to them most of the time. So it was something that was really challenging and really exciting, I think. But I learned a lot being in the law firm, I think, because the kind of people I was working with, the kind of clients I had, frankly, very smart clients from the beginning of my career, and got that exposure and got to work with a lot of off counsels who were working with them, with us at that time, with the firm. So that was certainly crazy. And then switching that entire what do you call it, career training that I had for say 1.5 years, 2 years, switching it entirely to become an in-house lawyer again was a drastic change because you have to uh, so like when you're advising, right, in a law firm, I would advise with longish, proper, detailed analysis of everything, right? Because I think my clients are paying me for that, right? So I'm going to be putting in all my knowledge and everything to that advice, and then make it completely detailed and complete, with all the nuances, so that my client understands everything. Because that's where I stand as a law firm associate. Right? But when I'm an in-house counsel, I have to be brief, right? I may want to write a whole passage, but I have to be brief because I don't think my say founders or the CXO levels will have that much time to read through the entire 2-page advisory, right? So I have to just advise them, can they do this or not, and why can't they do it if they cannot, right? So there was a lot of learning, of course, when I switched myself to in-house, but there was a lot of unlearning as well. So it has been like that. But I think after that I got a hang of it, and then it's been nice. The journey has been good. I have met and have experienced multiple of emotions as well, because law firm, in-house. I was also for some time I was working with a financial services company, so that was another ball game altogether, right? So it's been really great. I think that's all I can say, and one word would be roller coaster. That's all.
So, ma'am, we have come to our last segment called What
Yeah.
Do You Prefer? So, ma'am, for our audience, I must tell you that we will give two options to ma'am, and ma'am is going to select one and give a slightly explanation to it. So, ma'am, the first thing is working as an independent practitioner or working in a law firm.
I think it depends on where your background lies, right, or what your interests lie. With independent practitioner, do you mean practicing lawyers,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, I think with that, I think it's completely on your interest, first of all. If your interests lie in something, if you feel excited about going to court and fighting cases on your own, by all means, become an independent lawyer. But in a law firm, there are two or a couple of things that I would like to impress. Between these two, I think my choice would be to go for a law firm, because I myself, like I said in the beginning of our discussion, I didn't have anybody to guide me, right? In the beginning, I didn't have any lawyer in my family, or no lawyer as a friend or as a close relative, nobody. So I don't have any legal background, so to speak. So for me to think that I would become a an advocate or independent practitioner, it was slightly something that I wasn't really inclined towards, or I wasn't not even thinking, frankly, because I thought that entering a law firm would give me a lot of exposure to things, new things that I will be getting involved further in my career. Second, it will also give me a lot of great minds to interact with, right, early on. Because if I'm an independent practitioner from the beginning, it could be obviously tough for me to, first of all, know things, get clients, right, and make my place in that already, existing pool. So I would always prefer a law firm because one, you'll get nurtured, you'll get good experience by already experienced lawyers. You'll learn a lot, and uh, yes, and I think beyond few years, it is again a complete choice. I've heard so many of my friends have switched to independent practices, and they are, absolutely loving it because they get a lot of time for themselves again, and they can work on their own terms, and they can, manage their time according to their professional and personal commitments. So I don't think I can pick a side, frankly, right now. But I would prefer. I can't explain how which one is better. That I can't. But I would prefer a law firm, probably because I've worked as a law firm associate and I'm aware of what happens. So I think I'll prefer that over an independent practice.
So next is a journalist or a specialist.
For me, since I am more of a generalist, right? I mean, I like to call myself a transaction lawyer, but still, I am still working on general corp transactions. I work on M&A transactions. I work on corporate commercial, operational transactions, etc. So I think for a generalist, only the one thing that is going good or going great is that you have the ability to experience variety of industries because you're not branded as an say a pharmaceutical lawyer or a lawyer who excels in IT or so for a few years in your career you can experiment and you can learn what interests you, what all bucket items interest you more, and then maybe you can take a more specialist path in life in your career maybe after 5 or 6 years. But before that, if you're a generalist, you get to learn more things and you get to pick more things, right? You're not branded as a certain lawyer. You can switch your industries, you can switch your practices, and you can switch your jobs. I think a little more easier than being someone who's specializing in only a certain field of law.
So, ma'am, lastly, 5-year law course or 3-year law?
I think it depends on when you decided to be a lawyer, right? If had I waited after 12th as well, probably I would have done because I got admissions to science. I was a biology student, so I got admissions to most of the prestigious science colleges as well. But I had there and then decided that I didn't want to do science further beyond 12th standard. And I decided on taking law at that time. So for me, it was easier to pick 5 years, right? But then to give an example, my sister, she is also a lawyer, right? But she did a 3-year course. I think it comes from the fact when exactly in your life you decide to be a lawyer, because she decided after doing her graduation. So for her, obviously the only channel, at least at that time, was to do a 3-year course. So it depends on when exactly you made up your mind. Yes, the 5-year course is better because you do 2 degrees in lesser time because it's an integrated course. This will be doing it in 6 years, right? That's the objective difference between between the two. And to make a comparison, maybe a 5-year course will have. I think there are no 3-year courses in national colleges, right? Where academics is observed to be a little better, right? So yeah, so I think it depends completely. When you decide to be a lawyer, I mean, if you've not decided in your 12th standard, there is no way you'd be taking a 5-year course if you've started your graduation, unless you of course switch between. But yeah, another thing that could go correct for people who are doing a 3-year course would be that if you've done a degree, say if you've graduated in say chemistry or biology honors, or if you've done something in science, then there are very specialized fields that open up for you in law as well, like for IPR, for patent, being a patent attorney in India or abroad. you get a lot of weightage because of your science degree, right? So I think it is all about when you decide to be a lawyer and at what stage of your career you're at. So I know someone who did law after doing 5 years of MBBS, which is very strange, but kudos. So yeah, it depends when you decide to do a law. 5 year course is only for, I think, people who knew or who know from 11th standard probably or 12th standard that they want to become a lawyer, so they can directly jump into.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us time. It was really a great interaction, and I hope that it is going to benefit a lot of young minds.